Welcome back to the Tracy Take. I am Tyler here with my brother Ryan. Today we are doing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 7-round mock draft. Ryan and I, we did a full mock draft, all 255 picks, and today we're breaking down all of the Buccaneers picks. But before we do that, be sure to like, subscribe, and also ring the bell to get notified whenever we create new Buccaneers content. We've already done a 3-round mock draft for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so go check that out. Every Monday, we are releasing our mock draft Monday. Ryan is just coming out actually today, also to the releasing of this video. So be sure to go reach and go and watch that video. Also, too, we have other 3-round and 7-round mock draft series planned, leading up all the way to the 2024 NFL Draft. So to see those videos, be sure to like, subscribe, and also ring the bell. Ryan, pull the screen here. It's quickly just to orient you a little bit on what you're looking at. Obviously, the very top, it's going to indicate what round this is in. The name in bold and red, that is going to be the pick that the Buccaneers selected. We'll get to that in a second. But we wanted to include a little bit of the teams before and after, then also their players, just to give a sense of who was available and not available. Also to the right, all the players that you see as other potential options were available at the time of the Buccaneers selection. You can see where they were picked. And we just felt that they also could have potentially been picked by the Buccaneers. But instead, we had them go with Brian Thomas Jr. This actually was the way the draft worked out. We had the top 3 receivers go in the top 10, Harrison Jr., Neighbors, and Odunze. Not too much debate there. But then Thomas Jr. fell, Eddie Mitchell, Troy Franklin fell, and there was actually the beginning of, I think, 6 receivers were taken in 8 picks. And so this was the start of that pick. And so Thomas Jr. fell a little bit to them, which I can absolutely see happening. And you go get that guy, even if he doesn't contribute a lot, just because of how much Mike Evans is able to bring to the team. He could be a guy that with some development, it could be a very smooth transition, I think, from Mike Evans to Brian Thomas Jr. whenever Mike Evans decides to hang it up, because that time is getting close there. Really like this guy. Extremely possible he's taken inside the top 20, maybe even the top 15 as well. Yeah. So to have him fall, which I think for the Buccaneers, I think is a great selection here. But just in general, though, Buccaneers can honestly go in any direction. They probably won't go quarterback just with Baker Mayfield. He's probably going to get a nice contract. Other than that, they can honestly go in any direction. Like, I don't know if there's a position that's immediately coming up. Maybe left tackle. They won't go left tackle.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, with a guy like Brian Thomas Jr., he's going to win down the field. To me, I've kind of been making this comparison, but to me, he's Marvin Harrison Jr., right? Like, he's the 6'4", 210-pound freak athlete. Like, that is just going to win at all 3 levels. I will say he probably wins more down the field than Marvin Harrison Jr. does, but he doesn't quite have the route running repertoire over over the middle and like kind of the underneath stuff that Marvin Harrison Jr. does. So that will take some development. But if you can work that into his game, you have a complete like X receiver that's going to be your number 1 guy for the next 8-10 years. And with a guy like with a Hall of Famer like Mike Evans, potentially hanging up the cape soon, you're going to want that smooth transition. And I think this is definitely the guy to kind of go and do it with. So
yeah,
I really like this pick. I think it's a good fit for this offense. And while you have Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and Brian Thomas Jr., I think this offense is going to be really explosive. So I like that fit. Let's go ahead and move on now to their second pick. And this is going to be Tyler Nubin here. He's a little bit more of a free safety, whereas I feel like Antoine Winfield is more of that strong safety. He's going to come down, play in coverage a little bit more. Tyler Nubin, he's going to thrive in more of a 2-high system, but just a really, really solid instinctual safety. Really good kind of administrator of the defense. He reads route concepts really well, and he rotates in coverage. He's a very smart player. I really like this fit here. And for a team that needs a lot of secondary help, I really like this fit because this is going to prevent the big plays. And I think that's really kind of what burned Tampa Bay last year was their corners were getting beat, but then they still didn't really have anybody over the middle or back deep to prevent that from turning into points and maybe keeping 7 off the board or preventing 7 and only allowing 3. And I think this is the type of player that is going to change the back end of that defense. Also, I wasn't huge on the other corners at this spot, I feel like they could address the other positions in free agency, or potentially bring back guys that could contribute.
I was just about to bring that up because the next guy that was taken, obviously outside TJ Tampa, who we did actually in our 3-round mock draft. Also, too, I feel like you just kind of have to do it. But if they didn't want to go the marketing route there with that, Kalen King was the next cornerback taken at 66. Maybe they could take it. If Kalen King's there in their 3rd-round pick, I think you should take him. But then the next guy, then too, Mike Sansfield was taken at 73 by Detroit. And once again, it's not that like they could, if they like him, they could see the development. Like I can see them taking both of those guys. I think to your point though, some of the other options, I think they could go defensive tackle here, like with Braden Fisk. I think he's slowly working his way up the board, especially after the Senior Bowl. They wanted to address the interior offensive line. That's going to be an area that they really need to address. Also, then too, I think sneaky like running back position here as well. Rashad White is good, but I think then just to have that depth, I think maybe behind him as well, get a guy like Blake Corum who might be a little bit more between the tackles, while Rashad White can come in and he is your kind of he can do it all, but I think Blake Corum might be a little bit better between the tackles, and so I think it might be a good little running back combination. Once again, though, too, just another pick though where the Buccaneers could just go in any direction whatsoever.
Yeah, and that was one thing. I think last year we were saying that the Buccaneers were going to go from first to worst in that division, and granted they won the division back to back, but I was actually very impressed with how well rounded this roster was, given the amount of holes I felt that they had going into last year. And now looking at it, Mike Evans doesn't sound like he's going to get out of Tampa Bay. Neither is Baker Mayfield. So those two positions are going to be good. This offensive line played better than I thought. Maybe right tackle is a hole, or center potentially if Jackson Powers Johnson is there at 26, I believe. And like, so that, but again, not like these pressing needs that I felt that they would have coming into this draft. So let's move on to their next pick. Javon Solomon, the edge rusher from Troy, just a really solid guy. I think you look at who are their linebackers? What are their linebackers' names?
Devin White.
Oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking on it.
Shaq Barrett.
Shaq Barrett is the one that kind of plays that outside linebacker position. He's getting up there in age, and I think Javon Solomon would be a good candidate to potentially fill that one once when he's gone.
KJ Britt, Levante David, they did get Yaya Diaby. He is their outside linebacker. Shaq Barrett is left outside linebacker. I think that's like pseudo edge also as well.
Yeah, and then they have Levante David kind of roaming at middle linebacker.
Yeah.
And so like to me, I think Javon Solomon is that standing outside linebacker. Maybe going to be a little bit bigger than what you would typically want for that role, but a really good athlete. He played really well at Troy. I think he would be a good candidate to potentially come in and fill that spot at that outside linebacker position.
Yeah. No, I agree. That outside linebacker, the modern day
edge, standing edge rusher. Yeah. So here are the day 3 picks as well. One of the things, so Trevor Keegan, just a really solid interior offensive lineman. Frank Gore Jr., running back from Southern Missouri or Southern Mississippi, I forget.
Southern Miss.
Obviously, we all know who his dad is. Jackson Mitchell, and then Jontre Hunter from Georgia. Jontre Hunter from Georgia State. My apologies. He's going to be that undersized linebacker that's going to play in coverage. That Levante David type. Again, just kind of getting some youth in that linebacker room because some of those guys are getting up there in age. And granted, they're 7th-round picks. They're probably going to be playing special teams for the most part anyways. But, hey, you never know when you're going to find a Fred Warner or somebody like that. So I really like Jontre Hunter. I actually think having him here at 255 is way too low. I think he'll probably go somewhere up in the 5th round when draft day actually comes. But, again, I really like this draft. I think if you look at the holes, I know we didn't really address the cornerback position, which is probably a decently big need for them, but I think we got good supporting players around that defense where they could go, and maybe that's a target position for them in free agency.
Yeah, I think too, there's holes. It's not like there's like a glaring weakness on the team. I think there's just areas that like
areas of improvement.
A lot of areas just of improvement as a whole, and thanks to I think then the division being weak last season, but also then too the team overall improved significantly. I mean to give the whole coaching staff credit, and then the credit Baker Mayfield coming in, and especially to kind of now getting marked as that journeyman quarterback. I think he came in and absolutely, like, they all did an extremely fine job. Won the division last year, and then at the same time, like, now they are set up and they have the foundation to potentially run it back again. And I don't think anybody's going to be doubting them like how they did going into the season. So with this draft, I think they got a lot of just good players. I think they can come in, compete for starting jobs, or at least add good depth. So we'll have to see. It's so hard to predict because I know I've said it 7 times now. They could go in any direction, like on the 26th pick, the 57th pick, their 89th pick. So many different ways I think that they can go. And then that's going to totally, then I think, dictate who they think is going to be available on when it comes day 3 and the route that they end up going.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see it. I think this roster is better than we gave them credit for, again, at the beginning of last year. And I'm looking forward to it. But let's go ahead and wrap up this video here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you thought of this Tampa Bay Buccaneers 7-round mock draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you do differently? And on that, we will see you guys next time.